You wake before the sun, not because you choose to, but because sleep never fully comes. The air around you is cold, heavy, and faintly damp, pressing against your face as you open your eyes. There's no soft mattress beneath you, no blanket woven for comfort. What supports your body is a thin layer of straw, flattened by years of other bodies, laid directly on rough wooden boards. Some of the straw is sharp, some of it smells faintly of rot. You do not stretch easily. Your joints feel stiff, older than they should be. Even the act of rolling to your side takes effort, and as you do, a small cloud of dust rises into the dim air. You breathe it in without thinking. Everyone does. It settles in your lungs the same way it has settled into every corner of this room. The room itself is small, low ceiling, thick walls made of uneven stone, cold to the touch even in warmer seasons. There is no glass in the window, only a wooden shutter that was closed at night to keep out animals, thieves, and the worst of the wind. Now, thin lines of gray morning light slip through the cracks, drawing narrow paths across the dirt floor. You share this space. You always do. A shape stirs nearby. Another person shifts in their sleep, letting out a low cough that sounds wet and tired. In the corner, someone else mutters without waking, their breath shallow, uneven. The smell of bodies fills the room, sweat that never fully washed away, old clothes damp with yesterday's labor, the sour hint of illness that has no name here. There is no clock to tell you the hour. You measure time by sound and light, by the way the darkness thins, by the distant noise of animals waking in nearby pens. Somewhere outside a rooster calls, not precisely, not reliably, but loudly enough to cut through the morning quiet. You sit up slowly. Your head feels heavy as though sleep still clings to it, but there is work to be done. There is always work. Rest is not something you plan for. It is something that happens briefly, imperfectly, when exhaustion overtakes you. Your feet touch the floor. The dirt is cold, slightly damp. You can feel small pebbles pressing into the skin of your soles. Shoes exist, but you do not wear them inside. They are stiff, cracked leather, saved for outside work, and putting them on too early only wears them down faster. You rub your hands together for warmth. The skin is rough, marked with small cuts and scars you no longer notice. Your fingernails are dark with dirt that never fully comes out, no matter how much you scrub them in water drawn from the well. Water, you think. You will need it later. For now, you reach for your clothes. They are exactly where you left them, folded loosely, still carrying the shape of your body. The fabric is coarse wool, itchy against bare skin, and already smells faintly sour. Clothes are not washed often. Soap is rare. Water is heavy to carry and needed for too many other things. Most stains are simply lived with. You pull the tunic over your head. It scratches your neck. You adjust it without irritation because irritation would serve no purpose. This is how it feels. This is how it has always felt. As you dress, the room slowly wakes around you. Someone coughs again, louder this time. Another person sits up and sighs deeply, the sound of someone bracing themselves for another long day. A child begins to stir, whimpering softly before being hushed. No one speaks much in the morning. Words cost energy. Silence is easier. You step toward the door and lift the wooden latch. The hinge creaks as it opens, the sound sharp in the quiet. Outside, the air is colder than inside, biting at your face, carrying the smell of earth, animals, and smoke from last night's fires that never fully went out. The sky is pale gray blue, stretched wide above low wooden buildings and narrow dirt paths. There is no paved road, only packed earth, marked by footprints, cartwheels, and the slow passage of time. Small puddles linger in shallow dips, reflecting the light weakly. You begin to emerge from your homes one by one, shapes moving slowly, wrapped in layers. Faces look tired even before the day begins. Some nod silently as they pass. Others keep their eyes down. You are not unique here. You are not special. You are one body among many, all moving according to the same quiet rhythm. Nearby, animals stir. A cow shifts in its pen, exhaling loudly. Chickens scratch the ground, already searching for scraps. A pig squeals briefly before settling again. You make your way toward the well. The path is familiar, worn smooth by countless steps. You carry a wooden bucket, its handle polished by years of hands gripping it in the same place. The bucket is heavy even when empty. You brace yourself for the weight it will soon hold. At the well, others are already waiting. You join them without comment. The rope creaks as the bucket is lowered, disappearing into the dark mouth below. When it rises again, water drips from its sides, splashing onto the ground, darkening the dirt. The water is not clear. It never is. Tiny particles float within it, bits of sediment stirred up from below. You drink it anyway. Everyone does. Boiling water takes time and fuel is precious. Illness is common, so's thirst. You take a sip, then another. The water is cold, slightly metallic. It does not taste good, but it eases the dryness in your throat. As you wait your turn to draw water, you notice the sounds around you. The quiet murmur of voices, the distant clang of metal as someone begins work early, the soft wind moving through thatched roofs. These sounds are not background noise, they are the texture of your life. This is the world you live in. There are no guarantees here, no safety nets, no expectation that tomorrow will be easier than today. Survival is not dramatic, it is repetitive, it is quiet. It is made up of small actions performed again and again until the body can no longer perform them. You lift the full bucket and feel the strain immediately in your arms and back. Muscles tighten. You adjust your grip and begin the walk back, careful not to spill too much. Every drop matters. As you move, you pass a narrow alley where waste has been dumped overnight. The smell is sharp and unpleasant, but you barely react. Human waste, animal waste, food scraps, it all ends up somewhere nearby. There is no system to carry it away. Rain helps sometimes, time helps sometimes. Often, it simply stays. You breathe through your mouth and keep walking. By the time you return to your dwelling, the light has grown stronger. The day has begun, whether you are ready or not. You set the bucket down carefully and straighten up slowly, feeling the familiar ache in your spine. This is only the beginning of the day. And already, your body feels tired. The morning does not bring breakfast in the way you might imagine it. There is no table set with plates, no warm smell of fresh cooking drifting through the air. Eating is not a ritual of pleasure here. It is a calculation, a slow, careful use of what little you have. You step back inside, carrying the bucket of water with you. The room feels darker now that your eyes have adjusted to the outside light. A small fire pit sits near the wall, its ashes gray and powdery, remnants of heat from the night before. Someone kneels beside it, stirring the coals, coaxing them back to life with practiced movements. Fire is never wasted. If it goes out completely, starting it again takes time, effort, and luck. You set the water down and reach for the bread. It is not soft. It is not warm. It is not even entirely bread in the way you might expect. It is dense, dark, and heavy in your hand, made mostly from coarse grains, rye, barley, sometimes oats, ground roughly and baked hard. The crust is thick. The inside is tight and compact. This bread is meant to last, not to delight. You break off a piece. It resists at first, then cracks with a dull sound. Crumbs fall to the floor, immediately claimed by nothing at all. There are no pets here waiting eagerly. Anything that drops is often too dirty to bother with. You bring the bread to your mouth and bite down slowly. Your teeth work harder than they should. The bread tastes sour, faintly bitter, and carries the unmistakable flavor of age. It was baked days ago, maybe longer. Mold has been scraped away already. What remains is considered good enough. You chew carefully. Everyone learns to chew carefully. Too fast, and you risk cracking a tooth. Too careless, and you might miss the tiny grit of stone mixed in from the mill. Millstones wear down over time, shedding fine particles that end up in the flour. Those particles wear down teeth just as steadily. You swallow. The bread sits heavy in your stomach, expanding slightly as it absorbs moisture. It will keep hunger at bay for a while. That is its purpose. Someone passes you a wooden cup filled with thin ale. It is barely alcoholic, weak enough that even children drink it.
The fermentation makes it safer than water, or at least that is the belief passed down through habit and experience. It's cloudy, lukewarm, and smells faintly of yeast and grain. You take a slow sip, then another. It does not refresh you, it simply adds weight. There's no fruit this morning, no meat. Those are luxuries, appearing rarely, tied to seasons, festivals, or unexpected fortune. Most days, your meals look like this: bread, liquid, repetition. As you eat, you listen. Someone talks quietly about the weather. Another mentions a field that needs tending. A third complains of stomach pain, pressing their hand to their side. No one offers advice. Pain is common. Everyone has it in some form. When the food is gone, there is no lingering. You wipe your hands on your clothes and stand. The day's work waits, patient and unchanging. Outside, the village is fully awake now. Smoke rises from several rooftops, thin and pale against the sky. The smell of burning wood mixes with the ever-present scent of earth and animals. You walk past others carrying tools, hoes, baskets, lengths of rope. Faces are set in familiar expressions of endurance. Your work today is in the fields. The land stretches out beyond the clustered buildings, uneven and wide. Fields are divided by low fences or shallow ditches, their boundaries known more by memory than by markers. The soil is dark but stubborn, clinging to your boots as you walk. You take up your tool and begin. The movement is repetitive. Push, pull, lift, turn. Your body settles into the rhythm, muscles warming as they work. There is no thought of efficiency, only of continuation. You work until you are told to stop, or until your body forces you to. As the sun climbs higher, hunger returns, not sharply, but gradually, like a pressure that grows in the background. There is no snack. There is no pause for eating. You keep going. The air warms, then grows heavy. Sweat dampens your clothes, making them cling to your skin. Flies gather, drawn by moisture and smell. You wave them away without breaking your rhythm. At midday, there is a brief rest. You sit on the ground, lowering yourself carefully. Your legs feel stiff already, joints protesting the sudden stillness. Someone passes around another piece of bread, smaller this time. You accept it without comment. This bread is even harder. You dip it into ale or water to soften it, then chew slowly. The taste is the same as before. The act is the same as before. Eating does not break the monotony. It is part of it. Nearby, someone retches suddenly, bending forward. No one reacts strongly. Stomach sickness comes and goes. Sometimes it passes, sometimes it does not. You finish eating and stand again, brushing dirt from your hands. The work resumes. Hours pass this way, marked only by the movement of the sun and the growing ache in your body. By late afternoon, your back burns with a dull, steady pain. Your hands are numb in places, raw in others. When the work finally ends, it is not announced. It simply slows, then stops, as bodies reach their limits. You walk back toward the village, legs heavy, steps slower now. The thought of food returns, not with excitement, but with necessity. Evening brings another meal. This one is warm. A pot hangs over the fire, its contents simmering slowly. Inside is a thin stew made from whatever is available: onions, turnips, bits of cabbage, perhaps a handful of beans. If you are fortunate, there might be a scrap of meat, more bone than flesh, added for flavor rather than nourishment. You wait your turn and receive a wooden bowl filled with the steaming liquid. The smell is earthy, mild, and comforting in a small way. You sit and eat slowly, savoring the warmth more than the taste. The vegetables are soft from long cooking. The broth is thin, but it coats your throat pleasantly. You do not eat until you are full. You eat until the food is gone. When the bowl is empty, you scrape the last drops with a piece of bread and swallow them carefully. Nothing is wasted. As darkness begins to settle outside, the firelight becomes the main source of illumination. Shadows stretch across the walls, flickering with every movement of the flames. You feel the weight of the day pressing down on you now, not just in your muscles, but in your thoughts. There is no reflection on whether the day was good or bad. It simply was. Soon you will lie down again on the straw. Soon the room will grow quiet. And tomorrow, the hunger will return. Exactly the same.
As the light fades and the work of the day loosens its grip on your muscles, you become aware of another constant presence. It is not sudden. It has been with you since morning. It is the feeling of your own body, layered with sweat, dirt, and the remnants of everything the day has pressed into your skin. There is no bathing tonight. There is rarely bathing at all. Water must be carried, heated, protected. Every bucket used for washing is a bucket not used for cooking, drinking, or animals. Cleanliness exists as an idea more than a habit, shaped by necessity rather than preference. You rinse your hands, briefly, in a shared basin. The water is already cloudy from earlier use. You rub your palms together, feeling grit loosen, then stop before the water grows too dark to ignore. Your face remains unwashed. Your hair remains stiff with oil and dust. Everyone else does the same. The smell of bodies fills the room again as people settle in for the night. It is not just sweat. It is old sweat layered upon new, soaked into wool and skin alike. It is the sour tang of breath shaped by poor teeth and thin diets. It is the faintly sweet smell of illness, of wounds that never fully heal. You sit and remove your outer garment, hanging it on a wooden peg. It will not dry fully by morning. It never does. Dampness lingers, especially in colder months, clinging to fabric like a second skin. As you prepare to lie down, you feel the itch. It starts small, an almost absent sensation along your forearm. You scratch without thinking, dragging your fingernails across rough skin. The itch does not go away. It rarely does. Lice are common, fleas even more so. They live in the straw, in the seams of clothing, in the folds of blankets passed from one body to another. You have known them for as long as you can remember. Everyone has. You scratch again, harder this time, then stop. Scratching too much breaks the skin. Broken skin invites infection. Infection invites worse things. You lie down. The straw shifts beneath you, releasing another faint cloud of dust. Something moves near your ankle, quick and light. You do not react. Reacting would change nothing. Nearby, someone begins to cough. It is a deep, rattling sound, repeated again and again. No one tells them to stop. They cannot. You pull the rough blanket over yourself and close your eyes. Sleep comes unevenly. You drift in and out, awareness never fully fading. Each time you shift, the itch returns somewhere else. Your neck, your calf, the back of your knee. Your body is a map of small discomforts, each one demanding attention, none of them important enough to fix. At some point in the night, you awake to the sound of movement. Someone is up, breathing hard. You open your eyes and see a figure crouched near the fire pit, holding their stomach. A soft, urgent sound escapes them. They rush toward the door, barely managing to open it in time. No one follows. No one asks questions. Stomach illness is as ordinary as hunger. Sometimes it passes by morning. Sometimes it does not. Sometimes it takes a person with it. You close your eyes again. When sleep finally settles more deeply, it brings dreams that feel thin and colorless. Dreams of walking, of lifting, of endless repetition. Even rest follows the same patterns as waking life. Morning comes quietly. Light seeps back through the cracks in the shutters, pale and gray. You wake not because you feel rested, but because your body has learned to stop sleeping when the light changes. Your throat feels dry. Your mouth tastes sour. You sit up slowly, joints stiff, muscles reluctant. The itch is still there. You scratch your scalp now, fingers moving through hair that has not been properly washed in weeks. Tiny flakes fall onto the straw.
You brush them away without looking. Someone nearby is already awake, tying their hair back with a strip of cloth. Another rubs their eyes, leaving faint streaks of grime across their face. No one looks clean. You step outside briefly to relieve yourself. There is no privacy. You move to a familiar spot beyond the buildings, where the ground is already darkened for use. The smell is strong, especially in warm weather, but you breathe through it. Everyone does. Waste accumulates close to where people live. It seeps into the soil. It runs into the water when it rains. There is no understanding of germs, no clear connection between filth and disease, only patterns noticed over generations. Some places make people sick more often than others. Some wells taste worse. Some seasons bring more death. That is all. You finish and return inside, rinsing your hands again in the basin. The water is now colder, used too many times already. You wipe your hands on your clothes and prepare for the day. As you dress, you notice a small sore on your arm, red, slightly swollen. You do not remember when it appeared. It might be a bite, it might be a scratch, it might become nothing, or it might not. You leave it alone. The morning meal is the same as yesterday. Bread, ale, silence. Your stomach tightens as you eat, reacting to something unseen. You ignore it. Most people do. Outside, the village moves back into its familiar rhythm. As you walk toward your work, you pass a group gathered near one of the homes. A figure lies still on the ground, covered partially with cloth. Someone murmurs a prayer. Another crosses themselves. You slow for a moment, then continue on. Death is present, but it is not dramatic. It does not stop the day. It becomes part of the background, like hunger or cold. You reach the fields again and take up your tool. Your body moves as it always does, carrying yesterday's dirt, yesterday's sweat, yesterday's fatigue into the new day. Cleanliness is something you do not achieve. It is something you imagine, vaguely, without clear memory. As the sun rises higher, the itch returns, the ache deepens, and the cycle continues. This is life in a body that is never clean.
It does not begin with panic. Illness rarely announces itself loudly here. It arrives the way dampness does, seeping in quietly, unnoticed at first, becoming part of the air before anyone thinks to name it. As you work, you feel it as a small change, a heaviness behind the eyes, a faint chill that lingers even as the sun warms your back. You tell yourself it is nothing. Everyone does. Stopping work is not an option. There is no clear moment when someone decides they are too sick to continue. You simply work until you cannot. By midday, your throat aches slightly. Swallowing feels rough, as though the inside has been scraped raw. You drink from your cup, the lukewarm liquid offering little relief. The taste seems wrong today. Everything tastes wrong some days. Around you, others show their own signs. A man wipes his nose repeatedly, leaving his sleeve damp and dark. A woman pauses more often than usual, resting her hands on her knees before straightening again. Someone else works more slowly, breath coming in short, shallow pulls. No one speaks of it. Illness is not a shared experience. It is endured privately, each person measuring their own limits in silence. When the midday bread comes, you eat less than usual. Your stomach feels unsettled, tightening after each bite. You force yourself to finish anyway. Empty stomachs make weakness worse. Everyone knows that much. As the afternoon wears on, the chill returns. Sweat cools on your skin, leaving you shivering despite the warmth around you. You pull your clothing closer, but the fabric offers little comfort. You keep working. This is how sickness takes hold, not in a sudden collapse, but in a slow narrowing of what your body can manage. Each movement costs slightly more. Each breath feels slightly shallower. By the time the work ends, your legs feel unsteady beneath you.
You walk back toward the village carefully, aware of the uneven ground in a way you usually are not. Inside, the air feels thick. The fire burns low, its warmth uneven. You sit and press your hands together, noticing how pale your skin looks in the flickering light. Someone notices your stillness and asks if you are well. You nod. That is the expected answer. The evening meal smells stronger than usual. The steam rising from the pot makes your stomach turn slightly. You take your portion and sit apart from the others, eating slowly, pausing often. The warmth of the stew settles uneasily inside you. As night falls, the room grows quiet again, broken only by coughing and shifting bodies. You lie down early, pulling the blanket close. Your skin feels hot now, too hot, then suddenly cool again. Fever does not come with explanation, it comes with confusion. Your thoughts drift strangely, slipping away from you as you try to hold on to them. The sounds around you blur together. The crackle of embers, the breathing of others, the distant noise of animals outside. Sleep comes, but it is not restful. You wake sweating, heart racing, unsure how much time has passed. Your mouth is dry, your tongue thick. You reach for water and drink greedily, spilling some onto the floor. The water tastes bitter. You lie back down and stare into the darkness, eyes open, mind restless. Images drift through your thoughts, fields, faces, hands reaching, then fading again. None of it forms a clear dream. At some point, you cough. It surprises you, tearing up from deep in your chest. You cover your mouth with your arm, trying to muffle the sound. The cough leaves a burning sensation behind, lingering long after it passes. By morning, the fever has settled slightly, but the weakness remains. Getting up takes effort. The room spins briefly as you sit upright. You pause, waiting for it to pass. It does, slowly, reluctantly. You notice that someone nearby did not get up at all. They lie still on their straw, breathing shallowly, face turned toward the wall. Another person kneels beside them, speaking softly, pressing a hand to their forehead. Too warm. The word passes quietly between them, heavy with meaning. You dress more slowly than usual. Each movement feels deliberate, as though your body is resisting you. When you stand, you sway slightly, then steady yourself against the wall. Outside, the day begins as always. Work continues. Animals need tending. Fields need labor. Life does not pause for sickness. You walk toward your task, aware now of every sensation in your body. The ache in your joints, the tightness in your chest, the dull throb behind your eyes. By midday, your strength is fading. Your hands tremble slightly as you grip your tool. Your vision blurs at the edges. You pause more often, pretending to adjust your footing, to catch your breath. No one says anything. To acknowledge sickness is to acknowledge fragility, and fragility is dangerous here. Later, you feel it in your lungs again, a wetness, a heaviness, as though each breath leaves something behind. You cough once more, then again, harder this time. Someone glances at you, then looks away. By evening, you are allowed to stop. You return to the dwelling and lie down immediately, skipping the meal entirely. Hunger feels distant now, less important than rest. Your body feels like it is slipping, slowly, beyond your control. As darkness settles, you listen to the sounds around you and realize how many of them are coughing. Soft, deep, persistent. Illness moves through the room quietly, passing from breath to breath, touch to touch, shared space to shared space. There is no understanding of how it spreads, only the certainty that it does. You close your eyes, unsure whether sleep will bring relief or something worse. This is how sickness lives here, not as a single event, but as a constant presence, waiting patiently for the body to weaken enough to let it in.
Pain does not arrive suddenly. It settles into you the way cold does, first as a faint awareness, then as something you cannot ignore. You notice it when you wake, before you even open your eyes. A dull throb behind your temples, a tightness in your chest that makes your breath shallow and cautious. You remain still for a moment, measuring yourself. There is no question of whether you hurt. The question is how much you can still do. You sit up slowly. The movement sends a brief wave of dizziness through you, but it passes. Your joints protest, especially your knees and lower back. The familiar ache now sharpened by something deeper. Pain layered upon pain, indistinguishable in its parts. There is no medicine to reach for, no small bottle, no measured dose. Relief, when it exists, comes from time, rest, or chance. None of these are reliable. You press your fingers to your forehead, rubbing gently. The skin feels warm, too warm. You lower your hand and breathe through your mouth, careful not to cough. Nearby, someone groans softly as they rise. Another moves stiffly, favoring one leg. The room is full of quiet suffering, each person wrapped in their own. You manage a few bites of bread in the morning. Chewing makes your jaw ache. Swallowing feels like dragging something rough down your throat. You drink more than you eat, hoping the liquid will soothe something inside. It does not. Outside, the day is bright, too bright. The light hurts your eyes, forcing you to squint. Sounds feel sharper too, the clang of metal, the calls of animals, voices rising and falling. Everything presses in on you, demanding more attention than you have to give. You work anyway. The first hour is manageable. Your body moves stiffly, but it moves. You find a slower rhythm, conserving energy, resting your weight more heavily on your tool. By the second hour, the pain begins to change. It is no longer just a background presence. It sharpens, flaring unexpectedly with certain movements. A twist of the torso sends a spike through your back. A deep breath triggers a cough you can no longer suppress. You turn away, coughing into your sleeve. The sound echoes in your chest, leaving a raw, burning sensation behind. There is no one to tell, no one to ask. When the midday rest comes, you sit heavily, lowering yourself with care. Standing again will hurt more than sitting down. You know this. You accept it. Your hands tremble as you break the bread. The piece slips once, falling to the ground. You hesitate, then pick it up anyway, brushing off visible dirt. Hunger and necessity outweigh concern. You eat slowly, chewing through discomfort. Nearby, someone holds their arm close to their body, face tight with pain. Another rubs their knee again and again, as though repetition might wear the ache away. Pain is everywhere. It has no spectacle. It does not inspire sympathy. It is simply part of the air you all breathe. As the afternoon wears on, your headache worsens. Each step sends a small jolt upward, echoing behind your eyes. You find yourself counting movements, focusing on the mechanics of each one to distract yourself from how much they hurt. Lift, step, breathe, lower. Time stretches. By the time the work ends, your body feels heavy and unresponsive, as though it belongs to someone else. You walk back slowly, every step measured, careful not to stumble. Inside, the fire's warmth feels overwhelming. Heat pools around you, making your skin prickle. You sit away from the flames, head bowed, breathing shallowly. Someone notices your cough and offers you a cup of warm liquid infused with herbs. The taste is bitter, unpleasant, but you drink it anyway. Remedies exist here, passed down through generations. Some help, some do nothing, some make things worse. There is no way to know. You wait for the pain to ease. It does not. As night deepens, your body grows restless. Lying down hurts, sitting up hurts. There is no position that offers relief. You shift again and again, straw rustling beneath you,
trying to find a way to exist inside your own skin. Sleep comes in fragments. You wake often, heart pounding, breath short. Sometimes the pain is sharp enough to pull you fully awake. Sometimes it is dull and constant, making it impossible to sink into deeper rest. At one point, you wake to the sound of someone crying quietly nearby. The sound is low, controlled, as though they are trying not to disturb anyone. Pain had finally worn down their restraint. No one moves to comfort them. Comfort does not cure, and there is work tomorrow. By morning, exhaustion weighs on you more than the pain itself. Your body feels spent, hollowed out by discomfort and poor sleep. You sit up slowly, every movement deliberate. The pain is still there. It will be there when you stand, when you eat, when you work, when you lie down again. There is no escape from it, only endurance. This is what pain means here. Not something to be treated, not something to be relieved, but something to be carried, day after day, until the body finally sets it down for the last time.
You notice the children most when they're quiet. Loud children draw attention. Quiet children blend into the edges of the day, small shapes moving through adult spaces, carrying burdens that seem too large for their bodies. Here, childhood is not a protected space. It is a brief transition, barely marked, slipping quickly into work and responsibility. In the morning light, you see them already awake. A boy no older than 7 drags a bundle of sticks across the ground, stopping often to rest. His hands are red and raw from cold and splinters. He does not complain. Complaints are learned out of children early, worn away by repetition and consequence. Nearby, a girl balances a small bucket of water, both hands wrapped tightly around the handle. The bucket is heavy enough to pull her arms straight, shoulders hunched forward. Water sloshes dangerously close to the rim. She moves slowly, carefully, afraid to spill even a little. No one praises her when she succeeds. This is expected. Children eat the same food as adults, in smaller portions. Bread, thin stew, sometimes less. Their bodies grow slowly, shaped by scarcity as much as by time. Many do not grow at all. You remember children who were here last year and are gone now. Some fell ill and never recovered. Some were injured badly enough that their small bodies could not heal. Some simply faded, weaker than others, carried away quietly, their absence noticed only in passing. Infant cries are common, so are infant funerals. You pass a young child sitting on the ground, playing with a piece of string. Their clothes hang loosely, mended again and again. Their hair is thin, scalp visible beneath. Their eyes follow your movement, calm and watchful. They do not smile. Children learn early to observe without expectation. By mid-morning, they are at work. Some mind animals, chasing them gently, carefully. Others pick stones from fields, bending and straightening until their backs ache the same way adults' backs do. The smallest carry messages, fetching tools, running errands that keep them moving all day. They are tired. Everyone is tired. Illness does not spare them. You see a child coughing, their small chest moving too fast, breath shallow and uneven. An adult glances at them briefly, then looks away. There is nothing to be done. If the cough passes, the child stays. If it does not, they will be gone. There is no special care. Pain is not softened for children. They fall, scrape knees, cut hands, break bones. Tears are allowed briefly, then discouraged. Injuries are wrapped in cloth, maybe smeared with herbs, then forgotten. A boy limps past you, favoring his foot. You recognize the injury. Something heavy fell on it weeks ago. It never healed properly.
It never will. He walks anyway. Education, as such it exists, is not for everyone. A few children learn letters from a priest or clerk, scratching marks into wax tablets, memorizing prayers they do not fully understand. Most never touch a written word. Their knowledge is practical: how to lift, how to carry, how to survive another day. By the time they reach adolescence, their bodies already show the wear of years. Hands calloused, backs curved, faces serious and reserved. Childhood as a concept fades quietly, replaced by expectation. You see it in their eyes. They know what lies ahead. At night, children sleep where there is space, on straw, on floors, sometimes curled beside adults for warmth. They cough, they itch, they wake crying from dreams they cannot explain. There are no stories told to comfort them, no toys made just for joy. Their world is narrow, defined by what must be done. Yet sometimes, briefly, you see something else. A child laughs unexpectedly, chasing another through the dirt. The sound is sharp and surprising, cutting through the heavy air. It lasts only a moment before an adult's voice calls them back to work. The laughter fades. By morning, the same children rise again, bodies small but already burdened. They move through the village with quiet efficiency, having learned that survival depends on usefulness. Many will not reach adulthood. Those who do will carry the marks of this early life into everything they become. This is childhood here, not a time of protection or innocence, but a training ground for endurance, where weakness is quietly erased, and survival begins long before understanding.
Work begins before you are ready for it. It always does. You rise because others rise, because light enters the room, because stillness feels dangerous when there is so much to be done. There is no clear beginning or end to labor here. It stretches across the day, across the seasons, across the years, until it becomes difficult to imagine life without it. You step outside and feel the familiar weight settle onto you. Tools are simple, heavy, worn smooth by generations of hands. They do not fit your body. Your body adapts to them instead. Today, like most days, your work depends on the season. In planting time, you bend and press seeds into cold soil, fingers numb, back aching. In harvest, you cut and lift and carry, movements repeated until your muscles burn and your mind grows quiet. In winter, work does not stop. It shifts inward, repairing tools, tending animals, hauling wood, surviving the cold. There is no day off. Even on holy days, some work must be done. Animals need feeding. Fires need tending. Life continues indifferent to calendars. You learn quickly that exhaustion is not an emergency. It is a state of being. Your hands throb constantly. Small cuts reopen again and again, never fully healing. Dirt settles into them, turning them dark and rough. Infection is a constant risk, but risk is unavoidable. You remember the first time your body truly failed you. Your arms shook uncontrollably. Your vision dimmed. You thought, briefly, that you might collapse. Instead, you leaned harder into your tool and kept going. That is what everyone does. There is no alternative. Around you, others work with the same quiet determination. Faces are set, movements efficient. Conversation is sparse, saved for moments when breath allows it. When someone can no longer work, they become a problem. Old age is not gentle here. It does not arrive with rest or honor. It arrives with pain and limitation. You see older people given lighter tasks, yes, but lighter does not mean easy. It means less visible. Some are pushed to the margins, Some rely on family. Some simply fade. Injury is common. A slipped blade, a misstep, a falling load. When it happens, there is a brief pause, a rush of attention. Blood is wiped away, cloth is wrapped tight. Then work resumes. If the injured person can stand, they work. If they cannot, they are carried aside. You have seen hands crushed beyond repair, backs broken, legs twisted wrong. Survival afterward depends not on recovery, but on usefulness. The work does not adapt to you. You adapt to it, or you disappear. Food is earned through labor. Shelter is maintained through labor. Even rest feels like something borrowed, never owned. As the day stretches on, fatigue settles into your bones. It becomes a deep, persistent ache, one that no amount of sleep ever fully removes. You stop noticing it as pain and start noticing it as normal. The sun moves, shadows lengthen, still there is more to do. When evening finally comes, it is not a reward, it is a pause. You look at your hands and see how they have changed. The skin is thickened, cracked. Your nails are worn short, uneven. These are not temporary marks, they are permanent records of your life. You sit near the fire and feel your body resist stillness. Muscles twitch, accustomed to motion. Your mind drifts, dull and heavy. Someone nearby speaks of tomorrow's tasks. Someone else mentions weather coming in. Plans are made without enthusiasm, without resistance. Work defines time here. Days are not measured by events, but by tasks completed and tasks waiting. Years pass without distinction, one season blurring into the next. You realize slowly that this is why you would not last a day here. Not because of a single hardship, not because of one dramatic moment, but because there is no escape from the accumulation of it all. The hunger, the pain, the sickness, the labor. They do not end, they only repeat. As darkness settles again, and you prepare to lie down, your body heavy and unresponsive, you understand something quietly. This life does not break people all at once. It wears them down. And tomorrow, it will begin again.
Fear is not an emergency here. It is a background condition, like hunger or cold, present even when nothing appears to be wrong. You feel it most clearly when you hear raised voices. Not angry voices, those are common enough, but official ones. The sharp tone of authority carries differently through the air. It makes people pause mid-task. It draws eyes without anyone meaning to look. Law exists here, but it does not exist to protect you. It exists to control you. Rules are simple, unevenly applied, and enforced by people who answer to someone above them, all the way up a chain you will never see clearly. Justice is not blind. It sees status first, usefulness second, and truth only if it happens to align. You learn this early. Disputes are settled publicly when possible. A crowd gathers, words are exchanged, accusations are made loudly, sometimes incoherently. Evidence is thin, often based on reputation rather than fact. If you are known as troublesome, the outcome is already decided. If you are quiet and useful, you might be spared. Punishment is not hidden away. It is meant to be seen. In the center of the village there is a post. The wood is darkened and worn smooth at certain heights, polished by years of contact. People pass it every day without thinking, the way you pass any familiar object. But when it is used, everyone notices. You remember the sound of iron rings clinking as they are lifted, the smell of old rope, the way conversations die down when someone is brought forward. A man stands accused of stealing bread. Not a large amount, not enough to matter in any real sense, but hunger does not excuse theft here.
Theft threatens order, and order is valued more than mercy.
The punishment is decided quickly. He is tied to the post, his hands secured above his head, his feet barely touching the ground. The rope cuts into his wrists almost immediately. He shifts, grimacing, but does not cry out. People watch, some with interest, some with discomfort, some with blank expressions shaped by familiarity. The blows come next. They are measured, not wild. Each one lands with a dull sound that carries farther than you expect. The man's body jerks with each strike. His breathing grows ragged. You look away after a while, but the sound continues. When it ends, the man slumps forward, arms shaking. He is cut down and allowed to crawl away. He will not steal again, or if he does, the punishment will be worse. This is how law teaches. Fear is more effective than understanding. More serious crimes bring harsher consequences. You have seen someone lose a hand. You have seen someone branded, the smell of burning flesh sharp and unforgettable. You have heard of hangings, though they are less common here. Death is expensive. A dead worker produces nothing. Most punishments are designed to hurt without killing. Prisons exist, but they are not places of reform. They are holding spaces, dark, damp rooms where people wait. Wait for judgment, wait for fines they cannot pay. Wait for release that may never come. Inside, sickness spreads quickly. Light barely enters. Food is minimal. Those who go in often come out changed, thinner, quieter, more cautious, or they do not come out at all. Law also governs movement. You cannot simply leave. Travel requires permission, money, connections. Roads are dangerous, patrolled unevenly, haunted by bandits and disease. Being stopped without explanation is risky. Being unable to explain yourself is worse. You belong where you were born, whether you want to or not. Women feel the law differently. Their bodies are regulated by custom more than written rule, but the effect is the same. Accusations carry particular weight. Reputation is fragile. A whisper can destroy what little protection exists. You have seen women punished for offenses that men commit without consequences. You have seen them blamed for misfortune, failed crops, sick children, unexplained deaths. Fear takes many forms. There is fear of authority, the fear of neighbors, the fear of being noticed for the wrong reason. You choose your words carefully. You keep your head down. You avoid standing out. Even so, fear follows you home. At night, you hear sounds outside, footsteps, voices, the scrape of boots on dirt. Sometimes it is nothing. Sometimes it is not. You lie still, listening, heart beating louder than it should. If someone knocks on your door after dark, it is never good news. Law does not need to be constant to be effective. It only needs to be unpredictable. That unpredictability settles into your bones. You see it in how people move, careful, restrained. You hear it in how conversations trail off when someone unfamiliar approaches. You feel it in yourself, in the way your body tenses automatically at raised voices. Children learn it too. They are taught what not to say, where not to go, who not to cross. They watch punishments with wide eyes, absorbing lessons without explanation. This is how order maintains itself, not through fairness, but through visibility. As the day ends, you pass the post again. It stands empty now, harmless in appearance, just another piece of wood in the square. A few birds perch on it briefly before flying off. You do not stop to look. You do not need to. The memory of what happens there is enough. Tomorrow, the law may not touch you at all, or it may change your life permanently in a single afternoon. There is no way to know. That uncertainty is the point. This is why fear never leaves you.
not because something is always happening, but because it always could.
Women move through the village like shadows, always present, rarely noticed for their full weight. Their work begins before sunrise and ends long after the rest of the village has quieted. Every task is heavier, every expectation sharper, every failure more visible. Their labor is uncounted, yet it sustains the lives of everyone around them. The morning starts as usual. The youngest rise first, but not for themselves. They rise to tend infants, to stoke fires, to prepare meals. Women's bodies are expected to accommodate all need. There is no questioning, no hesitation. Hunger, fatigue, illness, they are tolerated quietly because no one else will carry these burdens for them. A woman kneels by the fire, stirring a thin stew that smells faintly of yesterday's vegetables. Her hands are red from the cold, cracked from water and ash, and tiny cuts from knives that do not forgive. She does not pause, even as her joints protest. There is no one to relieve her. No one asks her how she feels. That question is dangerous here. Attention is a currency she cannot afford. Her clothing is patched again and again. The fabric rubs her skin raw in places. Laces cut into wrists. Wool scratches arms. Every garment is old and worn, handed down, mended by tiny stitches, or left rough. She does not complain. Pain is ordinary. Complaints are invisible, easily ignored, and often punished. Children are part of the labor. Small hands carry water, sweep floors, feed animals. A girl of 8 lifts a basket heavier than her body, moving slowly but steadily. She is already learning what she will need to survive. She is learning that strength and endurance matter more than comfort, knowledge, or dreams. Women bear physical burdens that men rarely do. Pregnancy, childbirth, nursing children while continuing endless labor. Illness does not pause for these tasks. Miscarriages, complications, fever, they are endured quietly. Survival depends on endurance, not assistance. Death for women is constant, intimate, and often unremarked. Their days are measured by necessity. Meals must be prepared, water drawn, fires maintained, children supervised, clothing repaired, the sick tended. Each task feeds or protects someone else. Their own needs are invisible. They are secondary to every other life, every other demand. Punishment touches women differently. Words are sharpened for them. Disobedience is noticed immediately. Accusations, gossip, or jealousy carry consequences heavier than for men. Sometimes the law intervenes. More often, it is the community enforcing norms that is harsher. Fear is constant, subtle, a shadow in every movement. Even at night, women are not free. Fires must be monitored, animals checked, children soothed. Their beds are rarely comfortable. Straw is thin, warmth is borrowed. They lie awake listening to coughs, scraping, shifting bodies, the low hum of suffering that surrounds them. Rest comes only in fragments. Dreams are often interrupted by the reality they cannot escape. Illness and labor intersect cruelly. A woman sick with fever cannot stop tending children or household tasks without consequence. Hunger weakens her further. Back pain intensifies. She moves, endures, repeats. The world expects her endurance, not her recovery. Survival is an act of will, not chance. Women also carry the emotional labor of the community. They soothe frightened children, comfort the sick, whisper quiet instructions, maintain household order. They anticipate danger before it arrives. They calm disputes, prepare for punishment, and adjust lives according to the unpredictable whims of law and fate. Their lives are never their own. Occasionally, a quiet kindness appears. A woman helps another lift a bucket. She steadies a child. She whispers advice, passed down through survival, not instruction. But even these moments are brief, fragile, swallowed quickly by the relentless demands of the day. By evening, their bodies are exhausted.
Every muscle aches, every finger is raw, their backs curve slightly from repeated labor, yet they rise again the next morning without hesitation. Complaints are silent, endurance loud in its invisibility. They are the pillars of survival, though no one calls them that. Some women will not survive past their 30s. Childbirth, illness, exhaustion, injury, they take their toll relentlessly. Those who do survive carry these experiences as deep, invisible scars. Every movement, every breath, every ache in their body is a record of years endured and labor continued. Fear, hunger, pain, illness, law, labor, they intersect in women's lives in a pattern so constant that it becomes almost invisible. Their world is relentless, their endurance is quiet, their survival is the backbone of every day, every task, every life that continues because of them. Night falls, and the firelight flickers across their faces. Some lie beside children, some sit quietly, hands resting on aching knees, eyes closed briefly. Some watch over others still awake. Sleep comes in fragments, a fragile reprieve, a short pause before the cycle begins again at dawn. This is life for women here, constant, unseen, unavoidable. They endure, they persist, and in a place where weakness is dangerous and survival is earned through repetition, their endurance is as necessary as the air, as the bread, as the water.
Night arrives not with ceremony, but gradually. The sky darkens, first to gray, then deeper shades of blue, and finally to a heavy black that seems to press down on the town itself. The sun has disappeared, leaving only faint light from stars, often hidden behind clouds, and the occasional flicker of torch or fire from a dwelling. Darkness is absolute here, except where human hands produce weak, unreliable light. The streets empty slowly as people retreat into homes. Windows are shuttered, doors latched. Fires burn low, their smoke curling upward, visible in the faint night sky. Every house holds the rhythm of survival. The sleeping, the nursing, the quiet tending of children or animals. The town itself seems to inhale, settle, brace for the night. Noise is muted, but not gone. Animals make their presence known. Dogs bark at imagined threats. Pigs squeal softly. Chickens murmur in their pens. The wind moves through narrow alleys, carrying leaves, dust, and the faint scent of refuse left to accumulate. The sounds are familiar, almost comforting, yet they also remind you that vigilance never sleeps. Crime does not disappear with darkness. It thrives in it. Shadows offer cover. Weak street lamps, or no lamps at all, allow thieves and opportunists to move unseen. The town's few watchmen patrol, but their numbers are small, their eyes often tired, their weapons blunt or outdated. They deter some, but not all. You hear the quiet scraping of a cart being lifted improperly, the faint clinking of stolen goods in a sack, the soft hiss of someone retreating quickly into darkness. Fear is practical. People avoid wandering alone. Children are kept inside. Strangers are avoided or questioned cautiously. Trust is fragile, often expensive. Even inside homes, safety is partial. Doors may lock poorly. Windows are often shuttered but not fortified. Animals, both domesticated and wild, intrude unpredictably. Rats scurry along walls, searching for scraps. Fleas, lice, and insects remain constant companions. Night brings no true respite from discomfort. Some people sleep in shifts, especially those responsible for guarding animals or maintaining fires. They rise briefly to check livestock, ensuring no predators have entered. Wolves, foxes, and opportunistic humans all threaten survival. The act of standing quietly, scanning the dark, checking on danger becomes part of the night. Vigilance is continuous. Rest is intermittent. Stories are whispered about what happens after dark. Tales of thieves, murders,
Mysterious disappearances and unexplained noises circulate quietly. They are warnings as much as entertainment, reminding listeners that death and misfortune do not only arrive in daylight. Suspicion colors every interaction. Every shadow may conceal threat. Every stranger may carry risk. You walk briefly through the alleys. Your steps are careful, deliberate. Each stone, each uneven plank, each shallow puddle is familiar, yet dangerous if misjudged. A shadow moves. A neighbor? A thief? A stranger? Your heart beats slightly faster. Your hand brushes instinctively against the hilt of a knife. Your breath slows. You continue onward, hoping nothing follows. Firelight spills from windows, warm and inviting, yet it also highlights inequality. Some houses glow with enough warmth to chase off dampness. Others are dark, cold, almost invisible, inhabited by those too poor to maintain a fire all night. Their inhabitants sleep uneasily, knowing that exposure and illness may come with the night. Hunger presses on them more sharply. Fear cuts deeper. Noise travels easily in the quiet. Arguments that would be shrugged off during the day ring out sharper at night. Disputes are muted quickly, often by threats or authority, but sometimes by violence. The darkness amplifies sound and consequence alike. A dropped bucket, a misstep, even the whisper of someone passing too close can provoke suspicion or anger. The law is present in subtle ways. Watchmen patrol intermittently. Bells might toll for disturbances. Neighbors peer from windows. Punishment, if applied, is sudden and public. But most nights, law is absent, leaving people to enforce their own sense of order and fear. Vigilance becomes a personal duty. Survival depends on perception, reaction, and luck. Some nights, you lie awake listening to every sound: the scuff of boots, the creak of doors, the scrape of metal on stone, the distant howls of wolves, the coughs of the sick. Each sound has meaning. Each one demands awareness. Sleep is fragile. Dreams are lighter here, often interrupted by instinctive alertness. The body refuses complete rest because danger is constant, if quiet. Crime, fear, and darkness teach a lesson that is learned early. Movement is cautious. Speech is measured. Trust is selective. Everyone carries the knowledge of what may be lurking, even if it is unseen. Survival is as much about prediction and avoidance as it is about strength or endurance. Children who sleep at night often hear more than they should. Doors opening, faint whispers, the distant clatter of a stolen item being carried away. They lie awake, absorbing lessons about the world silently, instinctively. They understand, without words, that night holds threats the day does not reveal, and that preparation, awareness, and quiet obedience are necessary. By midnight, the town seems to breathe as one organism. Houses inhale and exhale. Alleys stretch into dark veins. Animals settle. The few who move do so with caution and purpose. The darkness has flattened all hierarchy. The weak and strong alike are vulnerable. Fear is equal here. Survival is temporary and fragile. Eventually, some sleep, some do not. The watch continues in small shifts. Fires smolder. Shadows remain, unmoving but threatening in the imagination. Even the most familiar streets feel unpredictable. The town itself seems alive, aware, waiting, watching. Night teaches endurance. Night teaches caution. Night teaches that safety is fleeting. Fleeting as the glow of a fire, as the light of a distant star. By dawn, those who survived will rise again, bodies weary but alert, minds shaped by the knowledge that darkness never fully ends. It only pauses, ready to return the next evening. This is life after dark in the medieval town. Quiet, oppressive, dangerous, and unrelenting. Not through spectacle, not through singular dramatic events, but through the accumulation of small threats, persistent discomfort, and constant awareness. To live here, you must carry vigilance in every step, every breath, every glance and every movement. You must endure discomfort. You must navigate danger without pause. You must accept that fear is a permanent companion, not a temporary visitor. And so, when the first faint light of dawn touches the thatched roofs, the town exhales and life resumes. The lessons of the night are carried forward into the day. Caution, endurance, and the quiet understanding that nothing here comes easily, not even survival.
The day begins slowly, but danger is already present. You step outside, taking in the familiar sights: uneven streets, piles of refuse, open wells, animals wandering freely. Every element is harmless on its own, yet together they form a world filled with small, relentless threats. You notice them immediately: the sharp stone beneath your foot, the splintered plank in the alley, the stray animal that could bite without warning. These are not dramatic dangers. They are ordinary, persistent, unavoidable. One misstep, one careless movement, and the consequences can linger for weeks or months, or end a life quietly, almost without notice. Water is never safe. Wells are shared. Rainwater collects in shallow depressions, mixing with mud, animal droppings, and human waste. Drinking from it can make you ill. Boiling is rare. Fuel is scarce. Even water that looks clean may carry invisible threats: parasites, bacteria, disease. Every swallow carries risk. Every sip is a calculated gamble. Food is another hazard. Bread is often stored improperly, becoming moldy or contaminated with insects. Stews are simmered slowly, but sometimes meat carries disease. Vegetables are picked from soil rich with manure, and hand washing is rare. Small children are the most vulnerable. Adults have grown accustomed to occasional illness, but their resistance is hard-won, built through years of exposure. One bad meal can become a slow decline. Illness creeps quietly. It rarely announces itself with fireworks or sudden collapse. First, it is a headache, a queasy stomach, a shiver along the spine. Then a fever, lingering cough, stomach cramps, or weakness. Sometimes you recover, sometimes you do not. Sometimes the sickness spreads silently, claiming one body after another, almost imperceptibly. You pass a neighbor coughing softly, pressing a hand to a thin chest. Another limps slightly, rubbing a red, swollen joint. Children play near a dung heap, oblivious to the invisible threats around them. Adults look away, not out of cruelty, but because there is nothing that can be done except survive alongside it. Accidents are constant. A bucket tipped wrong, a tool dropped, a rope frayed from years of use. Any of these can result in injuries that modern medicine would easily fix. Here, a small cut can fester, a sprain can cripple, a broken bone can mean months of pain and inability to contribute to labor. Some never fully recover. Some die quietly from infection or complications. Fires, while essential, are hazards too. Open flames consume straw roofs, wooden walls, and clothing in minutes. Cooking over open pits is necessary, but every day carries a risk of burns. Smoke fills homes, eyes sting, and the long-term effects of inhalation are unseen but real. Even the simplest surfaces are threats. Floors are uneven, strewn with dirt, straw, and animal waste. Tiny splinters, hidden stones, sharp shards, and broken tools lie in wait. Cuts and scrapes are constant companions. Infection is almost inevitable. Some heal, some fester, some kill. You move carefully, but the constant vigilance wears you down. Awareness itself is tiring. Every step, every lift, every breath carries the possibility of harm. Fatigue reduces attention, increasing risk, and the cycle repeats endlessly. At midday, you notice the quietest deaths. Not dramatic, not accompanied by ceremony, but subtle. A child falls sick from contaminated water, their small body shivering under the thin blanket.
An adult, already weakened from days of labor and poor nutrition, succumbs quietly to fever or infection. These deaths are absorbed into the rhythm of life here. They leave marks, but life continues immediately after. You learn quickly that tragedy is ordinary, mourning is brief, funerals are often small, practical, and quick. The body is buried or burned. Others return to work immediately. Survival demands it. Prolonged grief is dangerous, both physically and socially. Animals are hazards too. Livestock can kick, bite, or trample. Dogs carry disease. Cats bring scratches. Flies spread illness. Every creature, even those relied upon for survival, carries risk. People develop instinctive caution, watching every movement. Even then, accidents occur. The air itself is a danger. Dust rises from unpaved streets, mingling with smoke, ash, and waste. People inhale continuously, and illness thrives. Coughs are common, eyes water, lungs weaken. Tuberculosis, pneumonia, and other respiratory ailments lurk in every breath. Some succumb quickly, others endure months of slow decline. Sickness, injury, and fatigue combine. Pain multiplies. Sleep is often insufficient, leaving the body vulnerable. Exposure to cold and wetness in the fields weakens immunity further. Life here is a careful balance of energy, strength, and luck. By evening, small deaths and daily hazards have left their mark on everyone. Limbs ache, backs burn, eyes sting, hands are cracked, blistered, and scarred. Every wound, every illness, every accident is a lesson etched into the skin and memory. Yet the day is not over. The night will bring new dangers, thieves, predators, darkness itself. Infection will continue to spread quietly among those already weakened. Vulnerability is endless. Survival is fragile. And still, you rise the next morning. You endure, you navigate, you survive one more day, knowing full well that another hazard waits around every corner. This is life in the medieval town, a constant struggle with invisible enemies, accidents, illness, and exhaustion. It is a world designed to wear down the body, mind, and spirit, leaving only those who are strong, adaptable, and cautious enough to persist. This is why you wouldn't last a day here, not because of a single event, but because danger is relentless, death comes quietly, and survival demands continuous vigilance in a world that does not pause.
Medicine in this time is not a science. It is a mixture of observation, ritual, superstition, and guesswork, passed down through generations in handwritten manuscripts, whispered advice, and sometimes through trial and error. The healer, if you are lucky enough to encounter one, is as likely to make you sicker as to help. Survival often depends not on medicine, but on chance, endurance, and sheer stubbornness. You notice illness immediately when it strikes. Fevers, infections, coughs, and wounds are common. The healer arrives with little ceremony, often more curious than compassionate. They may carry herbs, poultices, or simple tools, knives, needles, and sometimes fire. They speak in learned tones, invoking humors, spirits, or divine influence. Logic is secondary. Observation is incomplete. A simple wound is dangerous. A small cut from a kitchen knife, a splinter from a rough plank, or a scrape from stone in the street can fester within hours. The healer might apply a poultice made from honey, herbs, or even animal fat. Sometimes this works. Sometimes it introduces infection. Amputation is occasionally the only solution, but it is performed without anesthetic, without antiseptic, and with crude tools. Survival after such a procedure is not guaranteed. You hear the screams before you see the patient. The wood floor shakes with the thrashing. The healer binds them, cuts, cauterizes, or pulls as the patient fights instinctively. Pain is overwhelming. Blood flows freely. No mercy is possible. The procedure is quick because speed increases survival chances. And yet, many do not survive.
Diseases that are mild today are deadly then. Smallpox, dysentery, influenza, tuberculosis, typhoid, all move silently and unpredictably. There are no vaccines, no antibiotics, no understanding of germ theory. Illness spreads quietly, often killing the weakest first: children, the elderly, and those already weakened by labor or malnutrition. Superstition colors every treatment. Spells, charms, and prayers may be applied alongside herbs. Bloodletting, believed to restore balance to the body's humors, is common. Veins are cut, leeches applied, blood flows onto cloth or into basins. Sometimes the patient improves. More often, they weaken further. The healer offers no explanation when this happens. Fate, divine will, or imbalance is cited instead. Pregnancy and childbirth are particularly perilous. Women labor at home, attended by midwives if available. There is no anesthesia, no guarantee of safety. Complications are common: bleeding, infection, obstructed labor. Any of these can end a mother's life or a newborn's. You notice older women who survived multiple births, their bodies worn and scarred, eyes shadowed with exhaustion and grief. Many mothers do not survive the first birth, leaving families fractured. Minor illness is also terrifying because it can become major so quickly. A cough worsens into pneumonia, a cut becomes gangrenous, fever weakens the body until other infections take hold. Each day carries new risk. Surviving one illness does not guarantee survival tomorrow. Life is fragile, tenuous, and constantly threatened by the invisible enemies of disease. The healer's knowledge is uneven. Some herbs work, some do harm. Remedies are often based on observation or trial. You may be given milk, vinegar, roots, or powders mixed into water. Sometimes treatments are simple and helpful: clean water, rest, food, and warmth. More often, treatments are brutal, painful, or ineffective. Children are particularly vulnerable. A child falls ill and the options are limited. Poultices, prayers, and hope are applied in equal measure. Many children die, quietly, sometimes without even being seen by a healer. Their parents are left to endure grief silently, knowing that life is fragile and death inevitable. Hospitals, such as they exist, are grim, overcrowded, poorly ventilated, underfunded, and full of the sick and dying. They offer little relief. Beds are shared, infection spreads freely, food is minimal, medical attention is inconsistent. Often these institutions are more about housing the poor than healing them. Pain is constant, fear of death is constant, the uncertainty of treatment is constant. You endure because stopping is not an option. You learn to move carefully, to treat your injuries yourself, to watch for early signs of illness, and to pray silently that the remedies administered do not worsen your fate. Even when the healer is skilled, success is fragile. Recovery depends on nutrition, cleanliness, rest, and luck, all of which are scarce. A patient might improve for a few days, then relapse because a wound became infected or the fever returned. The margin between life and death is razor thin. Wounds that would be trivial today are potentially fatal. An abscessed tooth can spread infection throughout the body. A simple scrape on the leg can turn gangrenous. Broken bones, improperly set, heal crookedly or never. Fever can leave a child delirious and weakened permanently. The smallest injuries and illnesses are dangerous because the ability to treat them safely is minimal. Infections are everywhere: air, water, soil, clothing, food, and even the healer's hands may carry disease. People are constantly exposed. Children, the elderly, the weak, the pregnant, these are the most vulnerable. And yet, life continues. Work continues. Meals continue. Labor cannot pause for treatment. Survival depends on endurance, adaptation, and the body's stubborn refusal to give up. Superstition intertwines with fear. Some illnesses are blamed on curses, sins, or divine punishment. Amulets, charms, prayers, and rituals are applied alongside herbs. Logic and observation are secondary. Belief becomes as essential as medicine itself, both a shield and a crutch in a world with little understanding of biology. You see people enduring both pain and fear simultaneously. A burn treated with herbs while reciting prayers. A fevered child held by a mother while a leech drains blood from their arm. A worker nursing a broken finger while knowing tomorrow they must return to the field. This is reality. Survival is never guaranteed. Recovery is never assured. Luck, endurance, and resilience are everything. Death is a frequent companion. Some die quietly in their sleep from illness or infection. Others are carried away to shallow graves or small funeral rites. Life is measured not in years, but in days survived, in injuries endured, in illness overcome. You realize that in this world, you are never truly safe. Even the simplest tasks carry risk. The smallest injury carries a potential death sentence. Every bite of food, every step outside, every encounter carries uncertainty. Medicine offers hope, but rarely certainty. Fear and vigilance are constant, companions in survival. This is why you would not last a day in medieval times. Not because of a single catastrophe, not because of dramatic battles or sieges, but because danger is cumulative, relentless, and omnipresent. Disease, injury, superstition, and crude medical practices conspire with exhaustion, hunger, and fear to make survival a daily, exhausting, and often futile challenge. Every step, every movement, every breath is a negotiation with risk. Every night brings fear of disease, darkness, and crime. Every day brings labor, pain, and the chance of injury. Life is a series of hazards stacked upon hazards, with small margins for success and survival. To endure is to be vigilant, cautious, and unyielding. To survive is to accept that the world does not accommodate weakness. Only those who adapt, persist, and endure constantly, silently, relentlessly, stand a chance of living even a single day. And even then, survival is fragile, fleeting, and never certain.
Violence is never far away. Even in the quietest villages, the echoes of conflict can be felt in every day, in every shadow, in every step. Life in medieval times is not simply about survival from illness, hunger, or labor. It is survival from other humans whose power, ambition, or desperation can strike without warning. The first hint comes with sound. Far off, perhaps, the clang of metal, the shouting of voices, or the sudden thrum of hooves on dirt roads. News spreads slowly. A neighboring village has been raided. A lord's men have passed through demanding taxes. A feud has escalated into bloodshed. There is no certainty, only expectation that violence could arrive at any moment. Villagers live with this in their bones. Children are taught to duck, to hide, to remain silent. Men learn to carry weapons, often rudimentary, clubs, knives, farming tools converted into instruments of defense. Women learn to shield their children, to move silently, to protect the hearth, the fire, and the small stock of food that ensures survival. When raiders arrive, chaos is sudden. Doors are broken down, livestock stolen, homes ransacked. People are beaten, threatened, sometimes killed, often for small amounts of money or simply to assert dominance. Authority rarely protects ordinary people. The law outside the village is distant, slow, unreliable. Survival is immediate, local, and brutal. Even without organized raids, theft and petty violence are constant threats. Travelers bring danger. Merchants may be attacked. Disputes between neighbors can escalate into physical fights. Small villages are not peaceful havens. They are microcosms of a larger world where might often makes right. Men are expected to fight. Boys are trained early. When raiding parties or armies pass through, everyone of age may be conscripted temporarily to defend the village. Weapon training is crude but essential. The young learn quickly. Hesitation can mean death. Mistakes are costly. Experience is gained through watching others suffer, sometimes painfully. Wounds from violence are deadly, often more so than illness. A stab, a blow to the head, a cut across a limb,
Each carries high risk. Without proper treatment, even minor injuries can fester, become infected, and kill. Medicine may offer hope, but it cannot undo the trauma. Those who survive battle carry scars, weakness, and chronic pain for life. Fear is constant. You do not sleep fully at night, listening for movement outside, for shouting, for the crack of wood against flesh. You step carefully in alleys, never certain if someone is watching or plotting. Trust is conditional. Alliances are fragile. Every stranger is a potential threat. Even local authority is dangerous. Lords and knights demand loyalty, payment, labor, or obedience. Refusal can lead to imprisonment, public punishment, or death. Violence is not random. It is structured but relentless. The hierarchy protects some while exposing others, and ordinary people are expendable. The psychological toll is immense. Children witness and absorb these lessons early. A neighbor injured in a fight, livestock stolen violently, adults plotting defense, mothers hiding children while the men attempt negotiation. They learn that life is precarious, that every action has risk, and that survival often requires cunning, silence, and speed. Sieges and larger conflicts are rarer but catastrophic. If a castle is attacked, a village nearby suffers too. Crops destroyed, homes burned, families displaced or killed. Starvation, disease, and exposure follow violence, often leaving more dead than the battle itself. Even after the threat passes, recovery is slow, sometimes impossible. You notice how violence touches every aspect of life. Labor becomes defensive. Fear of attack alters movement, posture, and speech. Cooking and firekeeping are done with eyes on the door. Water and food storage are prioritized to prevent loss during raids. Children learn to hide quickly, to mimic silence, to obey without question. Even social interactions are shaped by the constant threat of violence. Disputes are not fully resolved. They are remembered, carried like weapons in weight. Gossip may escalate to threats. Alliances are tactical. Survival requires anticipating not only illness or labor, but the intentions of every neighbor, stranger, or authority figure who crosses your path. Night intensifies fear. Darkness is both cover and danger. Raiders, thieves, predators, and enemies move unseen. Vigilance is exhausting but necessary. Sleep is light, fragmented, interrupted by any sound that could signal intrusion. Even the most familiar streets feel foreign in the dark. The key to survival is adaptation. You learn to anticipate danger before it appears. You carry a weapon, even when not necessary. You travel in groups when possible. You conceal valuables, reinforce doors, and keep watch over children and animals. You prepare for the worst every day while hoping for nothing to occur. And yet, despite caution, luck is critical. Survival is never guaranteed. The weak, the slow, the distracted, or the unlucky fall prey to violence. Death in medieval times does not require heroism or bravery. It only requires proximity to threat, misjudgment, or absence of defense. This is why you would not last a day in medieval times. The dangers are cumulative: labor, hunger, illness, law, superstition, and now violence. A single misstep, an unnoticed knife, a misjudged threat, a delayed reaction can end life instantly. The world is alive with threats, human and natural, and survival demands constant vigilance, endurance, and resilience. By the time you retreat at night, exhausted, bleeding, sick, and wary, you understand life is a battlefield that never ends. Not a battlefield marked by banners and victories, but by the small, constant skirmishes of daily survival. Every breath is earned. Every step is calculated. Every day survived is a triumph of endurance against overwhelming odds. Here there is no pause, no reprieve, no assurance. Violence waits around every corner, both visible and hidden, ready to remind you how fragile life is. And tomorrow, the threat will return in some form, because in medieval times, danger is as constant as the air you breathe.
Hunger is not a fleeting discomfort here. It is a constant companion.
as predictable and pervasive as the sun rising and setting. In medieval times, to be full is a temporary victory, measured in hours, sometimes minutes, never days. Food is scarce, labor is relentless, and every meal is earned through effort, luck, or both. Morning begins with the smell of smoke from the fire, but rarely with the smell of food. Bread is hard and thin, baked sparingly. Sometimes it is moldy, sometimes stale, sometimes rationed too small to satisfy. If you are fortunate, a pot of thin porridge awaits, watery, bland, occasionally flavored with herbs, sometimes boiled with a small bit of milk or scraps of meat. Often, neither exists. Hunger gnaws quietly, a deep ache in your stomach that is slow, persistent, unrelenting. Children feel it first. Small bodies cannot store energy as adults do. A few missed meals weaken them rapidly. Their energy fades, their movements slow. Mothers try to stretch portions, divide meals, and conserve what little food is available, but even they cannot hide hunger completely. You notice a child's stomach distending from repeated scarcity, thin arms too weak to lift buckets, fingers stained from scraping for crumbs. Hunger leaves both visible and invisible scars. Farmers rely on harvests, but these are never guaranteed. Weather can ruin crops, frost, drought, floods, or pests. A single failed season ripples across the entire community. The previous year's success cannot protect the current one. If the harvest is bad, everyone feels it. Rations shrink, meals are skipped. The weak, the elderly, the children, those who survive less well, suffer most. Starvation is quiet but relentless, often beginning as weakness, dizziness, and listlessness, ending in a slow, painful fading. Food theft, spoilage, and loss add to scarcity. Stored grain attracts rodents. Spoiled meat cannot be eaten without risk of disease. Bread left too long becomes hard, moldy, or infested with insects. Even when food exists, it is often contaminated or barely sufficient. Hunger is rarely about the absence of eating. It is about the absence of nourishment, the absence of safety. You notice the psychological weight of starvation. Hunger affects mood, attention, strength, and health. People move more slowly, argue more easily, and become desperate. The body's pain is physical, but the mind suffers too. Decisions are influenced by the constant preoccupation with food. Who gets the larger portion? Who goes without? What can be scavenged? What can be risked for a small meal? Hunger reshapes the world. Communal meals are rare and precarious. Festivals or church events sometimes offer small portions of shared food, but these are exceptional and brief. For most, the day is a series of small scavenges: breadcrumbs from the marketplace, vegetables from the garden, boiled weeds, scraps from animal feed. Survival is creativity mixed with luck. Children are most affected, and their loss is staggering. Malnutrition weakens immune systems. Disease spreads more quickly. Children die quietly, their absence noted, sometimes mourned briefly, but often absorbed into the daily grind. Life is too fragile, too urgent to linger on grief. Adults fare no better. Fatigue from labor intensifies hunger. The body burns stored energy rapidly, consuming muscle as well as fat. Those who survive one day may not survive the next. Even mild illness becomes more severe when combined with starvation. Wounds heal poorly, fevers rise faster, and strength drains steadily. Seasonal cycles intensify suffering. Winter is particularly cruel. Fields lie fallow. Fires consume scarce wood. Food reserves low. The cold magnifies hunger, making every movement painful, every breath heavy, every day longer. Starvation is slow, creeping, cumulative. Some die quietly in their homes, their absence noted only in passing. Others linger, weak and hollow-eyed, their labor reduced but still required. Communities adapt, sometimes brutally. Sharing is limited. Families protect their own. Hoarding occurs. Disputes over food escalate quickly, sometimes resulting in violence. Morality becomes negotiable when survival is at stake. Kindness is a risk. Survival is paramount. Even those who appear healthy are constantly on the edge. One failed crop, one spoiled loaf, one illness can tip them into real danger.
Hunger teaches humility, fear, endurance, and cunning. It shapes the body, mind, and soul. Hunger is relentless. Hunger is total. Hunger never forgets. By evening, hunger has settled deep. Your stomach aches, your head thumps, your muscles twitch with exhaustion. The few bites of bread you managed are swallowed slowly, each chew painful, each swallow conscious. Your body, accustomed to scarcity, is efficient in conserving energy, but the ache remains, gnawing at your resolve, weakening your defenses. You watch the children sleep. Their small bodies curl under thin blankets, stomachs slightly distended from hunger, faces pale. They dream, perhaps, but hunger follows them there, shaping nightmares, embedding itself into the quiet, shadowed corners of sleep. This is why you would not last a day in medieval times. Hunger is not episodic. It is chronic. It is relentless. It is embedded into every waking moment, into every step, every task, every breath. You would feel it constantly, in your body, in your mind, and in your spirit. You would wake to it, you would sleep beside it, and you would live with it, because life does not pause for an empty stomach. Hunger is not a simple discomfort. It is survival's most insidious teacher. It strengthens endurance in some, breaks others quietly, and leaves no one untouched. It is the slow, gnawing, omnipresent force that underpins every choice, every movement, and every day in medieval life.
Life in medieval times is not only defined by hunger, labor, and violence. The environment itself is an enemy, unpredictable, relentless, and indifferent. Weather is uncontrollable, disease is invisible, and natural hazards lurk in every corner. Survival is a negotiation with forces far larger than any human could hope to master. Winter is the cruelest teacher. Snow falls, sometimes lightly, sometimes in blizzards that trap people indoors or block roads for days. Fires are essential, but wood is scarce. Without fuel, freezing is swift. Fingers and toes blacken, frostbite sets in, bodies weaken. Sleep is difficult when cold bites through straw and fair-bred clothing. Many die quietly from exposure before anyone notices. Rain is another hazard. Mud turns roads into slippery traps. Wells overflow or become contaminated. Fields flood, destroying crops, drowning livestock, and making travel impossible. Houses with thatched roofs leak. Water seeps into floors. People are cold and damp, unable to dry themselves fully. Illness thrives in wet, unsanitary conditions. Fevers spike. Pneumonia spreads. Children are particularly vulnerable. Summer is no relief. Heat waves parch fields. Water becomes scarce. Livestock suffer. Crops wilt, forcing reliance on meager stored reserves. Sunstroke, dehydration, and exhaustion add to the list of threats. The body tires, and illness strikes faster when energy is low. Sunlight is not warmth. It is another hazard that makes survival precarious. Wind carries danger unseen. Storms rip across fields, flattening crops, damaging homes, and spreading disease. Weak structures collapse. Loose debris kills quietly. The weather does not pause for preparation. It comes unpredictable and leaves destruction in its wake. Infection is the invisible killer. Contagion is everywhere. Smallpox, typhus, dysentery, plague, any can strike suddenly and fatally. Infection spreads quickly in crowded homes, villages, and marketplaces. Latrines are rudimentary or non-existent. Waste is exposed. Rats, fleas, and insects thrive. The smallest contact, a contaminated bucket, a shared cup, a scratch from a flea, can transmit illness. Outbreaks are unpredictable and merciless. Entire families can fall ill in days. Mortality is high. Children die first. Adults struggle, weakened by prior labor, hunger, and injuries. Survivors carry scars, physical, emotional, and social, from those who do not survive. Fear is constant. Hope is fragile. Natural disasters compound human hardship. Floods sweep away homes and bridges. Fires ignite and spread quickly through wooden villages. Landslides, famine, and crop failures occur unpredictably. Each event alone is dangerous. Combined, they are devastating. The margin between life and death is razor thin.
Survival is often the result of luck rather than skill. Sanitation is nearly non-existent. Open sewers, animal waste, and stagnant water spread disease. Simple hygiene, washing hands, cleaning wounds, boiling water is rare or impossible. The body is constantly exposed to pathogens. Even routine activity, fetching water, tending animals, preparing food, carries risk of contamination. You notice subtle signs of environmental stress on people's bodies. Skin roughened by sun and cold, hands scarred from labor, backs bent by repetitive work, lungs rasping from smoke and dust. The environment shapes every movement, every habit, every decision. Even the strongest are worn down by constant exposure. Children, again, are particularly vulnerable. They are smaller, weaker, and less experienced. They fall ill from minor exposures, freeze or overheat more quickly, and are often unable to help themselves during disasters. Mortality among the young is high. Many never see adulthood. Those who survive carry the memory of deprivation, loss, and hardship, even if they do not fully understand it. Even routine activities are dangerous. Walking along uneven streets after rain risks twisted ankles. Climbing ladders to repair a roof risks falls. Carrying heavy loads in heat risks collapse. Fetching water from a well risks drowning. The environment itself punishes carelessness and magnifies weakness. You realize that survival requires constant adaptation. Clothing must change with the weather. Tasks must adjust with the seasons. Food must be rationed carefully. Children must be protected continuously. Shelter must be maintained against wind, rain, and snow. Every choice is a calculation, every day a test of endurance. Infection, exposure, and exhaustion interact in deadly ways. A fever weakens the body. Weakness increases susceptibility to cold or heat. Injury slows recovery. Hunger amplifies vulnerability. One problem rarely exists alone. Hazards compound, creating cascading crises that can overwhelm even the most prepared. The mental toll is as heavy as the physical. Anxiety is constant. Awareness of risk shapes every action, every glance, every decision. Fear is not acute, it is chronic. You never relax completely because the environment itself is lethal, and you know that a single moment of carelessness or misfortune can end life instantly. By evening, the village is quiet but tense. Smoke curls from chimneys, people huddled near fires. Children are tucked close to parents or siblings. Eyes are wary, listening to the wind, the animals, the sounds of distant storms. Every sound could signal danger, flood, fire, raiders, or illness. You understand at last why survival is precarious here. It is not a single threat, hunger, disease, violence, or weather that kills most people. It is the accumulation of all threats, day after day, season after season, year after year. Life is fragile, constant vigilance is required, and even skill and endurance are insufficient without luck. This is why you would not last a day in medieval times, not because of one dramatic event, but because the environment itself conspires with hunger, disease, labor, law, superstition, and violence to make survival a near impossible feat. Every step, every breath, every decision matters. Every day is a negotiation with forces beyond human control, and in the end, survival is never guaranteed.
In medieval life, your place is rarely chosen. It is assigned, inherited, or imposed, and every action is judged against it. Survival depends not only on labor, luck, or vigilance, but on understanding the rigid, unyielding hierarchy that shapes everything. Status dictates opportunity, vulnerability, punishment, and even daily expectations. You do not simply live, you perform your rank constantly, consciously or unconsciously. The lord of the village owns everything that matters: the land, the harvest, the animals, and, often, the laborers themselves. Serfs and peasants exist to serve, produce, and obey. Resistance is dangerous. Disobedience carries consequences that range from fines and public shaming to physical punishment or death. Justice is not equal. It favors those with power and wealth. Every interaction is influenced by hierarchy. A merchant may be tolerated for wealth, a priest respected for spiritual authority, a noble feared for enforcement. Ordinary villagers, men, women, and children, must navigate carefully. Words are measured, actions are calculated. Even small mistakes can provoke disproportionate consequences. You learn quickly that being invisible is sometimes safer than being competent. Labor reflects status. Serfs work long hours in the fields, maintaining crops that will feed not only their families, but also the lord's household. Tasks are assigned with no regard for skill or comfort. Men may plow, women may harvest, and children may gather kindling or care for animals. Each is judged for diligence, obedience, and productivity. Laziness is punished. Excellence is often ignored or exploited. Punishment reinforces social hierarchy. A peasant stealing a loaf of bread may face public humiliation, whipping, or even mutilation. A noble or merchant committing the same act may pay a fine or nothing at all. Law does not protect, it enforces structure. Fear is embedded in every social interaction, reminding you of your place and your limitations. Customs, tradition, and superstition deepen oppression. Women, particularly, are constrained not only by law, but by expectation. Their labor, obedience, and morality are scrutinized continuously. Deviations, real or imagined, invite gossip, punishment, or violence. Social survival is as essential as physical survival. Your reputation is currency, fragile and easily destroyed. Even daily life is shaped by the pressure to conform. Clothing, speech, behavior, and work are monitored. Deviations, slightly wearing better clothes, speaking too boldly, working too slowly, can be interpreted as rebellion or weakness. The hierarchy enforces itself through observation, rumor, and the ever-present fear of punishment. Children internalize this early, learning not only obedience, but the weight of social expectation. Education and opportunity are rare and heavily determined by class. A noble's child may read, write, or train with weapons. A peasant's child learns practical skills, obedience, and endurance. Curiosity can be dangerous. Asking too many questions may draw suspicion or ridicule. Knowledge is stratified, limited, and tightly controlled. You live within the bounds of what is permitted by birth, not by ambition. Feasts and celebrations emphasize inequality. The wealthy dine on meat, bread, and ale, while the laboring poor watch silently or consume thin gruel. Status is demonstrated in wealth, power, and visibility. To attempt to equal or challenge it invites ridicule or violence. Social pressure enforces survival strategies as much as hunger, disease, or fear. Debt and obligation further entrap you. A family may be tied to the land or lord for generations, paying rent or fines that consume their time and energy. Failure to meet obligations invite punishment. Freedom is conditional. Movement is constrained. Every decision is measured against obligations that may be impossible to fulfill fully. Even loyalty is enforced. Betrayal is punished harshly. Compliance is rewarded sparingly, if at all. People navigate social networks carefully, watching the behavior of neighbors, superiors, and strangers alike. Survival depends on alliances, discretion, and obedience. The psychological pressure is relentless. You carry not only the physical weight of labor and hunger, but the invisible weight of hierarchy, expectation, and surveillance. Every action, every word, every glance can have consequences. Fear is constant, subtle, and cumulative. It shapes your thoughts, movements, and even your dreams. Children are taught their place early. Boys learn obedience, skill, and vigilance. Girls learn domestic labor, silence, and caution. Deviations invite correction. Compliance ensures safety. Disobedience invites punishment. Life is structured to enforce hierarchy through every interaction, reinforcing status as both shield and cage. Even kindness is conditional. Helping someone may appear generous, but it can draw suspicion from those above or envy from those at the same level. Social calculations become part of survival. Trust is rare. Loyalty is selective.
Community exists, but only in measured doses. The world does not accommodate ambition or individuality lightly. Those who attempt to rise above their station face resistance, punishment, or exploitation. Survival requires learning the invisible rules, performing them flawlessly, and accepting the weight of oppression as an unavoidable fact. By nightfall, the psychological strain is cumulative. Hunger gnaws, labor aches, fear lingers, and hierarchy presses down on every thought and movement. Sleep is uneasy, haunted by the knowledge that status shapes opportunity, danger, and even mortality. Survival requires constant vigilance, adaptability, and acceptance of limitations imposed at birth. This is why you would not last a day in medieval times. It is not merely hunger, illness, or labor that overwhelms you. It is the constant, pervasive pressure of social hierarchy, the invisible, unyielding force that dictates your body, your labor, your speech, and even your mind. To live here is to navigate a world that rewards compliance, punishes deviation, and allows little room for error. Hierarchy ensures that no one is truly free, no one truly safe, and survival is earned daily, not only through endurance, but through careful negotiation of status, power, and expectation. Every step, every breath, every glance must be measured against your place in this world, and even then, survival is never guaranteed.